Good greetings. Is your business export ready? On today's discussion, we're going to look at the introductions and the objectives that SMEs need to be export ready as they prepare to embark on new export drives, whether to other continents or neighboring countries in Africa. In this episode, the concept of export readiness is crucial as it touches all the areas of business that are impacted by exports, including products, production capacity, financial resources, and exporting skills. I believe by the end of this episode, one will have gained the competence, one would have gained the awareness of the need to be export ready and what it means in practical, such as having certain mindset before embarking on any export venture. Another thing that you will gain at the end of this podcast is you're going to be able to identify the key considerations involved in product readiness, which includes the need to adapt products for the new markets, packaging and labeling requirements, and other needs that you need to consider during the production capacity. Another thing that you're going to learn during this episode is to determine the different areas of which financial resources will be required in preparing and executing an export plan. And lastly, you'll be able to identify the different skills that are needed to start exporting and determine how of these skills can be obtained. Like, okay, let's say you need packaging skills. Which resources are there available that is going to help you gain these skills, for instance? On the previous episodes, I shared with you some of the database and resources that one can take advantage of in terms of equipping yourself with these kind of skills which are needed. To emphasize on the introduction which I made earlier, is your business export ready? If you ask yourself that question, you're going to find that we arrive at a situation whereby we are faced with several problems. I'm going to address the first problem that normally arises when it comes to getting your business ready for export. So the first problem is becoming an exporter is very challenging. So I'd like to know if the following statement is true or false. So kindly drop your comment. The statement goes like this: there is no real difference between selling in the domestic market and selling in a neighboring country. As long as the culture and the language are fairly similar on both sides of the border, the market will be fairly similar too. I believe that statement is true because when you look at the domestic market and you sell into a neighboring country, it doesn't actually really matter if you and your neighboring country actually do share some of the similar community or products of use. So, what matters actually is When it comes to exporting, whether it's to a neighboring country or to a market on the other side of the globe, necessarily it involves a number of additional considerations that are not present when selling in the domestic market. These include navigating custom procedures, dealing with different currencies, complying with different regulations, meeting different standards, and potentially doing business in a foreign language. As you're going to see, when you're entering an export market, it involves a lot of work or more work than actually selling domestically. It can also be very rewarding. So the first statement which I presented, the one which I was asking whether it's true or false, that if you are to sell between the domestic market and selling in your neighboring country, as long as the culture and the language are fairly similar on both sides of the border, the market will be fairly similar too. That is the worst kind of assumption you can make when you're preparing your business to be export ready. Companies can fail in their export ventures due to numbers of reasons. One of the reasons that do contribute to the reason why the export plan becomes a failure is that companies they don't have the right mindset to export. So I believe it's true when it comes to mindset. Okay. It's very important for company to adapt export ready mindset right before they even start planning the venture or the export plan. The reason why it's important, it's because when you go towards a new market and you have all these assumptions, it's very good actually to acquire the right mindset that will help you succeed and persevere all the trials and tribulations which are ahead of you. Another point to consider is that companies whose products are not exactly suited to their target export market will fail. That is true. As a company, you have to ensure that your products are suited for the target export market. Failure to do that, it leads to business failure. And we see this a lot whereby you assume just because a product is doing very well in your domestic market, you assume that actually that is true. That if your product doesn't exactly suit their target market or the export market, that will be true. Sometimes it's always possible to adopt products to new markets. That's a key thing. Whereby, for instance, let's say you're thinking that, okay, yeah, if I don't exactly suit the market of my export target market, that my product will fail. So, failure, we have been brought up from a system whereby we only know that you can pass exam doing one way. But in business, we have so many ways of doing or passing an exam. So just like as we have so many ways of doing business exams, we have also so many ways of doing or failing in terms when it comes to export business. So the second thing I would like to encourage you is that there is always a possibility of that those products which you think they are not suited for the market, they could potentially gain or could be potentially adapted in the new market. So test and test again and again and again. Another thing which I want to clarify is that companies who do not find the right market will fail. I believe it's true at some point that those companies that actually don't find the right market will also fail. But basically, sometimes it's not as easy as just that. We have to ensure that while we're doing the market selection, we do not always go to the right or the first time. Sometimes there is always the opportunity to learn and try again. So, companies who do not have an export plan or strategy will fail. Also, I don't believe in that statement. I believe preparation is very paramount when it comes to export business. So, becoming export ready. I'm going to play a 2 minute clip that it's going to share more on how to do research on export opportunities and how to gather the required resources. So I'm going to play the 2 minute clip. I hope you enjoy.
Before you start exporting, you need to ensure that your enterprise is export ready. This involves preparing yourself to deal with the challenges of exporting. While it is not a guarantee that nothing will go wrong, at least by being prepared, you will ensure that your export venture has the biggest chance of succeeding. If you encounter a problem, you'll be.
So you all heard the guy that when it comes to exporting, everybody, especially the senior management of the company, should all speak in one language. So that brings me to a question. Can exporting be a good solution to offload excess product that didn't sell in the domestic market? I want you to think about it. I want you to think about it. Another thing that he said is that we have the export promotion agencies that do help businesses acquire the necessary skills and mindset that is needed when it comes to exporting. So, if products are not selling domestically, there is good chance that they will not even sell at their export target market either. And without proper market research and export preparation, trying to offload excess inventory abroad is likely to end up turning into an expensive failure for the company involved. It is very, very, very vital. If products are not selling domestically, you improve that before thinking about exporting it either abroad or to neighboring countries. Even if a company has the skills to export an exportable product, it will fail in its export venture if the management is not fully convinced of the decision to start developing an export business. It is important right from the start for the management to consider the decision of starting the export business plan. So we've all heard about the business plan that we normally export during mm, normal hours when it comes to normal banks. So whenever we want to export our overwhelmed liabilities, we do go and find the banks and we normally try and offset our excess liabilities just like a product which you haven't done your due diligence on proper market research and preparation. So either way, as we suggested, it is very important to safeguard your mindset right from the word. I'm your host, Benzo Macharia. See you then when we walk you through the next challenge or when we try and address the next problem that we normally encounter when it comes to making our business export ready. Bye bye. Till then, next time, Santi Sana.